Fenway Park last night. Red Sox got a much-needed win. Much needed. So there's a tendency or an instinct in a game like that to call it a great win. And I don't know that great is the right word. I think it was a much-needed win for the Red Sox over at Fenway Park after they got their asses kicked by the Houston Astros over the weekend. And got their asses kicked they did. But I do have a big picture question as it relates to the Red Sox and the current state of the Red Sox, really more than anything, because I am still feeling the reverberations from that defeat to the Houston Astros over the weekend that, frankly, should have humbled you and should have also shaken your belief in kind of what the Red Sox are this year, even where they're going a little bit, because the gap between the Red Sox and the Astros, the gap between a Red Sox or the Red Sox and a championship is still huge. It's huge. They're not close. They're not. So this is where I want to start tonight. 617-779-0985. We'll take your calls as always. And later on in the show, as we do every Tuesday, Trivia Tuesday will take place. You know the rules. I'll explain them again to you later, but we'll do that a little bit later in the program. But the win last night, Red Sox were tied 1-1. The Rangers walked in a couple of runs. The Red Sox go up 3-1. The Rangers come back, tie the game on a home run by Corey Seager. Red Sox end up winning it in the bottom of the 10th inning. The Rangers scored 1 in the 10th. The Red Sox got 2 in the bottom of the 10th. Emmanuel Valdez with a big hit. Rob Refsnyder with the game winner. And in between, Mickey Gasper making his major league debut at the age of 28, a native of Merrimack, New Hampshire, drew a walk that played a part in the rally. Okay, again, this guy was a Rule 5 selection in the minor league Rule 5 draft, which means the Yankees left him unprotected. The Red Sox grabbed him. He was at AA for a chunk of the season. They promoted him to AAA. He started hitting the crap out of AAA and having good at-bats. They brought him up to the big leagues. And last night, Mickey Gasper got a big at-bat in the 10th inning of an August game, a mid-August game with the Red Sox in pursuit of a playoff spot. So, simple question. How do you feel about that? The reason I put it that way is because I don't think the Red Sox should ever be in a spot where they are in a playoff race and they are relying on Emmanuel Valdez, Rob Refsnyder, and Refsnyder to a lesser degree is a veteran player. That's a bench guy. There's no mystery as to what Rob Refsnyder is at this stage of his career. But you get the idea. So the Gasper story, the Mickey Gasper story, is that good for the Red Sox or bad for the Red Sox, Jimmy Stewart?
If the Red Sox had a better core, I would say it's great because it's a great story. But since their core kind of blows, that it's not a great story. It's a bad story.
Okay, so listen, I will tell you that I'm not rooting against Mickey Gasper. Hard not to have an interest in that story. The guy's 28 years old, from New Hampshire, went to Bryant College, I believe, never played in the big leagues, gets a first chance, and all of a sudden gets called up in mid-August for a series against the reigning world champions.
Mickey Gasper is like this year's Daniel Nava.
Do you know he's hitting like over 400 in the minor leagues?
I did not know that.
Okay, or at AAA, I should say. He's played about 40 games at AAA, and he's hitting over 400.
It's Worcester, though. It's a bandbox.
Okay, so that's true, Jimmy. Excellent point by you.
Thank you.
But I do wonder whether or not as a fan you like that kind of story or what it really means about the state of the Red Sox. So Alex Cora, after the game last night, was asked about the team's victory in general. And, he sort of went through his standard post-game assessment of everything that happened in the game. He talked about the at-bat by Gasper, et cetera, et cetera. But he did say something at the end that I thought was poignant and, again, reflects the difference between Cora now and Cora a year ago. But it really touches on the issue of where the Red Sox are. Jimmy, go ahead.
We're playing with kids. Playing with kids in the middle of trying to make it to the playoff. You look around, you're like, wow, this is really happening here. And they're enjoying the moment. Actually, ref talked to them today Ref, yeah, kind of like, hey, if this is gonna happen, you guys have to push the envelope, kind of like just start playing fast again, and with joy out there. It's not that they're feeling the pressure, but obviously it's not that easy. So that was a good one today. That was a good one.
We're playing with kids here. And the way he said that, Jimmy, if we could play just that part again. We're playing with kids here.
We're playing with kids.
Play the whole thing.
Playing with kids in the middle of trying to make it to the playoff. You look around, you're like, wow, this is really happening here.
There you go. This is really happening here. And the way he says that, to me, sort of says Boston. Boston. We're winning with kids, and it's happening here. Or we're playing with kids, not winning with kids. How do you feel about that? Because for those of you that like the idea of, oh, the kids are coming. Yeah, the kids are coming. Marcelo Maya, yeah, they're coming. Can you win a championship with kids? Can you do it that way? Is it really something you should get that excited about? Because I do wonder, and I had our intern, Trevor, look this up. So, Trevor, thank you for putting the effort into this. I wanted to know, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to read you the names, and you tell me what these guys have in common. Mickey Gasper, Cam Boozer, Bailey Horn, Bailey effing Horn, Nick Sogard, who's actually played reasonably well while he's been here, Chase Shugart, if I'm pronouncing that right, who apparently got promoted to the roster last night, Jamie Westbrook, you remember that story earlier in the year, hit his first big league home run. I think his parents and his family were in attendance. Naoki Uwasawa, Justin Slayton, who was another Rule 5, picked that one at the big league Rule 5 draft. Again, the names: Cam Boozer, Bailey Horn, Mickey Gasper, Nick Sogard, Chase Shugart, Jamie Westbrook, Naoki Uwasawa, and Justin Slayton. What do they have in common?
They're all the Red Sox top 10 prospects in the system.
What they are is players who have played for the Red Sox this year and made their major league debuts here.
Oh.
8 guys. And Jimmy, Boozer, I think, is 28?
32.
He's 32. I take that back. He's 32. Bailey Horn is 26. Mickey Gasper is 28.
Feels young.
Sogard is 26. I don't know how old Uwasawa is. Westbrook, I think, is pushing 30.
30.
He's somewhere in that area. So these guys aren't prospects. They are journeyman 4A players who are making their debuts and playing for the Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox, in the middle of a playoff race or in a season in which the Red Sox have tried to sell you, quote unquote, the illusion of contention. How do you feel about that? Is that a good story or a bad story?
Bad story.
I think it's a bad story. That is what happens in Tampa Bay, folks. If you want the Red Sox to be the Tampa Bay Rays, that's what you get in Tampa. You get Cam Boozer, Bailey Horn, Mickey Gasper, Nick Sogard, Chase Shugart, Jamie Westbrook, Naoki Uwasawa, and Justin Slayton. That's what you get in Tampa. If they win, is that enjoyable? Or do you need more? 617-779-0985. We'll take your calls when we come back in the Baseball Hour.
at 28 to get his first chance in the major leagues. A minor league Rule 5 pick of the Red Sox in the offseason. A guy born in New Hampshire. Originally a 27th round draft pick. Inside to start from Pennington. The 1-0. Bounced foul by Gasper. 1-1 is a strike. 1-2. Bounced in, and Rafaela takes second. 2-2 on Mickey Gasper. Pennington fires. And a full count.
That's a really good take right there, too.
3-2. Gasper bounces it foul. Second and third. Bottom of the 10th. Pennington's 3-2. Inside, and they're loaded. And how about some of the takes from Mickey Gasper?
Tell you what, can you imagine what his heart rate is about right now?
Although it doesn't look like it's elevated much. The mustache has arrived to the major leagues as well. And he has helped load him up for the Red Sox in the bottom of the 10th. For a team that is hovering on the outskirts of that final wild card spot in the American League, trying to stop a 4-game losing streak.
Took everybody, and that at bat by Mickey, like in that moment, and to be able to walk, that was impressive. That's the reason he's here.
So again, that's Alex Cora after the game talking about Mickey Gasper. And I'm not trying to dump on the Mickey Gasper story. It's going to sound like I am. I'm really not. The guy's a good story. Mickey Gasper in and of himself is a good story. 28 years old. Again, born in New Hampshire. Drafted in the minor league Rule 5. Not even the big league Rule 5. The minor league Rule 5 draft. The Red Sox get him in the system. He's down at AAA. He's hitting over 400 in like 35, 40 games down at a AAA. They bring him up. They have to thrust him into a pennant race. Is that what you want? Is that what you expect as a Boston fan? And the other thing is, he walked. He walked. This is what we are now celebrating in Boston. A 28-year-old career journeyman, minor leaguer. Again, he is a good story. Is that what you want the Red Sox to have coming off the bench in the 10th inning of a game with a playoff berth at stake? And I don't want to say the season on the line, but something to that effect. Is that where we want the Red Sox to be? Is that what? Meanwhile, Yordan Alvarez is coming to the plate and being compared to David Ortiz, to what you used to be? He walked. In fact, the next guy up, Yoshida, made an out. And then Ref Snyder get the game-winning hit. First base was open when he walked. This is what got celebrated last night. And again, good. I'm going to keep getting his name wrong. Mickey Gasper. Good for Mickey Gasper. I don't begrudge him that. I think it's a bad sign for the state of the Red Sox. On some level, you get the idea. Nick in Fall River. Nick, what do you got?
Hey, Mazz, what's up? First, I want to say congratulations real quick, and I want to get to the point to me anyway. Yesterday was the best start in a while, I thought, for Bayo. He had 3 pitches working, the sinker, the changeup, and the slider. I think if he's able to have all 3 pitches working, then he's actually got a chance of being a decent pitcher. And what I want to ask you is, do you think if him and Houck can continue to pitch the way they have in each of their last start, do they have any shot at least winning the wild card round or even making it in to play in the wild card round?
Yeah, so Nick, look, again, it was a good outing overall from Bayo last night. I don't disagree with you on that. And I would tell you that independent of Houck, I think Bayo is kind of a little bit of a wild card for the Red Sox, because if he were to ever get hot, I think he could be a difference maker, yes. The stuff is good enough. It's a question of whether or not he has the maturity and the consistency, the command, the delivery, all things that I think relate to maturity, to just sort of harness it. Can he harness his own ability? But if you're asking me, does Brian Bayo have the talent to make an impact in the final 6 weeks of the season? My answer is yes. Of course. And I would say he got a little break in the season. He missed some time. So I feel like he should be a little fresher than some of the other guys. And maybe Bayo can get hot here down the stretch and give the Red Sox something that they weren't expecting. Come out of the woodwork a little bit because they need outs. They need them badly. Nick in Providence. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, Mazz, thanks. I've been pulling for October baseball all season, but I'm not going to lie. This team is wearing on me. If they're going to try and tic-tac-toe their way through the rest of the season and into the playoffs, they're in for a rude awakening. And I think I'm with you with the whole Astros series having an effect on me still. Like, that was such a stark difference in the lineups. And even last night, they had 4 pinch hitters again last night. Like, I get Cora is doing a good job, but he shouldn't have to be doing with what he's doing with. Does Breslow not remember back when he was on the team, they signed Johnny Gomes, Shane Victorino, Steven Drew, Mike Napoli. They traded for Jake Peavy. Like, you need horses, man. Like, you can't tic-tac-toe your way through this.
Yeah, Nick, horses, not ponies. Horses, not ponies. That goes back in Red Sox history a long, long time ago. Years ago, it was, what was the deal, Jimmy Stewart? I think it was the Lee Smith trade with the Cubs for Al Nipper. The Red Sox traded Al Nipper and someone else for Lee Smith, the closer. And the comment, the anonymous comment that was in a story reported at the time was they traded 2 ponies and got a horse. Okay, that's where the expression comes from. Horses, not ponies. Yes, they need horses. And you should be frustrated.
Calvin Schiraldi.
Was it Calvin Schiraldi?
Al Nipper and Calvin Schiraldi.
Okay, so again, it was, I'm a big believer in the talent. It's a nice story. I'm not interested in the nice story. I'm interested in winning. That's what I'm interested in. Drew in Boston. Drew, go ahead.
Hey, Tony, so I'm right there with you, and I think it all comes back to the complete dereliction of duty that Breslow and Sam Kennedy in the front office had going into the season, and then doubling down and showing you their backside at the trade deadline, and the apathy of the Red Sox fans and how excited we've now become about 2 nobody middle inning nothing arms. And because there's any move to address one of the 7 holes that we had, they really didn't do a full job or give a full effort. And the fans got so excited. Carabas is on your show. Oh, it was a good deadline. It was terrible. It was embarrassing. And that's not good enough in this town.
Yeah, I think you're putting words in Jared Carabas' mouth. I don't remember him saying it was a good deadline. I remember him saying it was a better deadline than what they've had, which is not saying much, but that they at least made an effort, a little bit of an effort, more so than they had made in the past. And they certainly didn't feed you the kind of bullcrap, although they fed you some. The kind of bullcrap that Chaim Bloom did. Chaim Bloom fed you complete, total bullcrap. Now, that said, a couple of callers ago, and I meant to follow up on this, he said that the lineup, he made a comment about the lineup, or maybe it was just this recent caller, about the number of pinch hitters. I'll tell you who you should be pissed off at. I meant to get to this tonight, and it slipped my mind, and I'll do it now. What the hell has taken Tristan Casas so long to come back to the big leagues? Alex Cora said last week, physically he's fine. He's down in the minors, quote unquote, working on his craft. And he wants to get his timing down. He's going to let us know. But he said he wasn't expecting it in the Tampa series. So what, does Tristan Casas have it in his head that he's got to get a certain amount of at-bats to have his timing? Like, that's what it's got to be? Meanwhile, someone like Mickey Gasper is getting a big at-bat in a game when it could be someone like Tristan Casas? That you should be pissed off at. That is someone who's such a slave to his routines that he doesn't recognize his own value when he's in the lineup, independent of whether he's got his timing back or not. So, to me, that it is something to keep an eye on. I want to do more on this as the week goes on. The fact that Tristan Casas isn't back yet is kind of embarrassing. And if Trevor Story somehow beats him back into the lineup, wow, is that going to be a bad look for Casas? Because Trevor Story didn't exactly sprint to get back into the lineup last year either. Anyway, we'll go to headlines here in a moment. Kevin Majori is going to have your headlines, but I'll remind you, coming up next, I can find it. Where did I put it, Jimmy Stewart? Trivia Tuesday. Trivia Tuesday. We'll take the first 2 callers right now. 617-931-0985. That's the contest line, not the caller line. 617-931-0985. You can get you can win a $50 Gulf gas card, obviously from Gulf, if you can get one question right. That's Trivia Tuesdays presented by Gulf. Download the Gulf Pay mobile app for everyday savings. Gulf, it all starts here. Here's Kevin Majori. We'll get back to your calls in Trivia Tuesday when we come back. right, that time of the week. It's an oldie but a goodie. Little Trivia Tuesday open, produced by Jim Murray many years ago. So again, we have 2 callers on the line. Let me explain to you how this works. 2 callers on the line. I'll take caller number 1, contestant number 1, who is Brendan in Revere. I'll ask him a question. If Brendan gets it right, contest is over. Brendan wins. He gets the $50 Golf gas card presented by Golf. Trivia Tuesdays presented by Golf. If he gets it wrong, we go to contestant number 2. If contestant number 2 gets it wrong, we'll take 2 more callers. They will be contestants numbers 3 and 4. 617-931-0985. So you can keep calling. And then if the first 2 guys are wrong, first 2 people, we'll bring in 2 more. But a max of 4. Okay? If nobody gets it in 4 cracks, we move on to next week. And again, Trivia Tuesdays presented by Golf. Download the Golf Pay mobile app for everyday savings. Golf. It all starts here. So again, let's punch up Brendan, contestant 1, Brendan in Revere. Brendan, you there?
I am here, Tony. And first of all, I'm not from Revere. I mean, I grew up in Winthrop, Tony. I mean, I live in Revere now, but I don't need to be associated with this hellhole any more than I am already now that I live here. So let's keep it straight, all right?
Okay, well, listen, if you told the call screen Revere, that's your problem. You should have said Winthrop. I just go with what they tell me. That's number 1.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Okay, so let's see. All right, here you go. Here's a question for you. The Red Sox have 3 blue chip prospects who they just promoted to AAA. What are their names? And
Roman Anthony, Kyle Teal, Marcelo Meyer.
Say it again.
Marcelo Meyer, Kyle Teal, Roman Anthony.
Okay, you got it right. I didn't even. Okay, so stay right there. The Jimmy and the guys will take you. They'll take you back there and get all your information, and you win the $50 Golf gas card. So what I was going to say to him, and he jumped down my throat with the answer, I need first names and last names. Okay, first names and last names. But he got it right. I was just curious as to how many people actually know the names of the prospects. Because everyone always says, yeah, they got these guys in AAA. But they don't actually know their full names or even what positions they play or what have you. So I'm always curious about that sort of thing. Now, my question for the night is, the Red Sox victory last night, Emmanuel Valdez, Rob Refsnyder, Mickey Gasper. The story of Mickey Gasper, should that be one that is really celebrated in a place like Boston, where you have a potentially $235 million payroll? The luxury taxes here, I think, is $237. The Red Sox are obviously going to stay under it, and I'm not telling you they're coming in at $235, but they have a $200 million plus payroll. Plus. And Mickey Gasper is being sent up as a pinch hitter in the 10th inning of a game in mid-August with the Red Sox fighting for a playoff spot. Okay, is that a good story or a bad story? Because it's a good story for Mickey Gasper. I think it's a bad sign of where the Red Sox are. That a guy like that is getting a big at bat. Meanwhile, the Astros come in here and they send Bregman, Alvarez, Altuve to the plate over and over again. They don't pinch hit really nearly as much as you do. I'm not even sure they had a pinch hitter in the series. They probably did. The Red Sox had 4 of them in 1 inning on Friday night. So you get the idea. Do you want the talent or do you want the story? Because I want the talent. Cliff in the car. Cliff, what do you got?
Tony, great show. I'm agreeing with almost all the callers and yourself. I think the question that needs to be asked is, can these players consistently execute at a major league level? And what we're seeing is consistently not. That's why they have to keep rotating people. Get the people up here that can play, or I don't care how you get them, and then you got to decide if you're going to upgrade them for a horse or not. The only 2 horses on the team are, in my opinion, are Jansen and maybe Devers. But all these other guys, can you consistently execute at a major league level is what they have to answer in the GM's office, my opinion. Thank you.
Yep. So, Cliff, look, to me, that's always the key between a good player and a lousy player. I say lousy player, an average player. And even then, sometimes the average players are better than you think they are. For example, there aren't a lot of guys who can be everyday players in the big league for any length of time. It's a hard thing to do. If you think about it, you need to be able to play, let's just stick with positional players now, functional defense, and you generally have to be able to hit left-handed and right-handed pitching. That makes you an everyday player in the big leagues. So, Alex Verdugo, as much as he was disliked and his attitude was erratic, is an everyday big league player. You get the idea. Jarren Duran went to the All-Star game this year. I think it feels like he's turned into an everyday big league player. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jimmy, he hadn't missed a game this year. The first 2 games he's missing are these games he's suspended, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so that in and of itself is a good sign. It doesn't mean that Jarren Duran gets a hit every night. But it does mean he's going to get you, a 280 average, a 290 average, and he's going to produce and can play every day and offer something to the team. This is part of the reason I was bitching about Tristan Casas in the last segment. If Tristan Casas is ready to come back physically and his timing's a little off, well, the team's in a playoff race, dude. You are just going to have to come back and get your timing back at the big league level. Because if you are an everyday big league player, and you can help the team in other ways. And in some cases, you can help them just by being there. So you tell me, if Tristan Casas is in the on-deck circle and Mickey Gasper's at the plate, is Mickey Gasper more likely to get a good pitch to hit late in a ball game or not? Because I think he is. So, to me, there's all kinds of value that a guy can bring, and just being in that lineup has value to the team. Any manager who is worth half a cent will tell you that. It's something the Red Sox have had to teach some of their younger players over the years. Sounds like they got to teach it to Casas. You know who was a big one that they had to teach that years ago? Jacoby Ellsbury. Constantly in the trainer's room. Constantly. Jacoby Ellsbury really didn't like baseball all that much, I don't think. They had to bust his chops to get him in the lineup some nights. Dustin Pedroia had to get on him constantly to get him in the lineup. They had to teach him that it was important for the team for him to be there. I think Casas needs to learn that same lesson. Jack in a car. Jack, what do you got?
Tony, appreciate the time. I hear you on Mickey Gasper. I hear all of that. I just want to point out one thing. Last time you spoke about him, you said Mickey Gasper walked. In fact, Mickey Gasper battled. He worked that walk. He fought off a few pitches inside. He made that walk count. Key spot in the game. I doubt he even remembers that at bat. He probably had to go home and watch the replay to remember what happened in that at bat. I think Mickey Gasper deserves to have the game dedicated to him yesterday. And yes, we do need more help than Mickey Gasper. But August 11th or whatever it was is Mickey Gasper Day. Thank you, Tony.
Okay, now you're trolling me, taking it that far. And I never said he didn't draw the walk. He did. He walked. And yes, he had to grind for it a little bit. He laid off a good pitch, 2-2, I think it was, slider down and in, fouled off a couple of balls on the third base side. I think the whole at bat was 7 pitches. If I remember right, because one of the foul balls was a strike. One of them came with 2 strikes. So I never said it was a bad at bat. But at the end of the day, he didn't get the hit to win the game. First base was open. He didn't score the game-winning run. All he did was avoid making an out. Now, I don't know. Does that mean, I know people will say, well, if he didn't walk, he made an out. Then Yoshida comes up and makes an out. The inning's over. I'm not one of these people who believes that everything that comes after was preordained. I don't believe that. Maybe they would have pitched Yoshida differently and walked him. I don't know. There's a million possibilities there. Eric in Reading. Go ahead, Eric.
Mazz, love you. Been reading you since the mid-'90s. Dan Shaughnessy was sadly right. They are the Tampa Red Sox. It's a disgrace. They're foregoing all their advantages as a big market team. And this year they did just enough to give themselves plausible deniability. getting some scrub relievers and packing on the back end, stay a plausible deniability. But it's a continuation of the Hein Bloom era. Thanks for letting me vent. Bye.
Yep. And Eric, look, here's what I will tell you. I believe that when you build winning championship teams, you have a mix of players. I'm not anti-journeyman. I'm not anti-young players. But I believe that your nucleus generally is superstars. And if you look at the Red Sox teams that have won the World Series, they all ranked in the top 3 in payroll in baseball, all 4 of them. Now, they had some young talent on those teams, 2007 most notably. Dustin Pedroia, Jacoby Ellsbury, those guys were contributors to that team. Xander Bogaerts in 2013. Yes. Role player Steve Pearce, 2018. Nathan Eovaldi, role player, acquired at the trade deadline. Yes, they still had David Ortiz and Pedroia and Betts and Bogaerts and Devers. So they still had the stars. That team was loaded. They were all loaded. So you need the young guys to provide, as I say, the season's 162 games. The young guys don't know any better. They play every one of them hard, like Jarren Duran. You need that. The season's 162 games. The veteran guys know not to sweat every 4-game losing streak. You need that too. There's a balance. The Red Sox, again, I read you the names earlier. I'll give it to you again. These are the guys who have made their debuts for the Red Sox this year. Major league debuts. Cam Boozer, 32. Bailey Horn. Bailey effing Horn.
Is he a son of Sam Horn?
What's Bailey Horn? Is he 26, 28? Mickey Gasper, 28. Sogard, 26. Chase Shugart, who's on the roster, hasn't actually played yet. Jamie Westbrook, who's 30. Naoki Uesawa, Justin Slayton. That's what the Red Sox should be. The Boston Red Sox, the storied, historic Boston Red Sox, built like the Tampa Bay Rays with 32-year-old rookies. No thanks. We'll wrap it up when we come back. See if we can sneak in one more call here. Rich in Millbury on Tristan Casas. Rich, what do you got?
Yes, I just want to say a couple of years ago I broke a couple of ribs.
Yeah.
It was eight months before I was pain free.
Okay,
because of the nerves in your ribs.
Okay, and that means what?
That means that's why Casas is still out.
Yeah. Rich, how old are you?
67.
How old's Casas?
I know.
25?
A lot younger.
Yeah, and last week, Alex Cora said that physically he's fine. So it's not an issue of him healing.
But that's why he still has that pain once in a while.
Okay, so I'm telling you, though, he said, according to Cora, and thank you for the call, Casas is working on his craft. He wants to get his timing back. Meanwhile, I would tell you that the timing for the Red Sox to make the playoffs is dwindling, okay, or is getting worse. So here's what I would say to Casas. You can't just do what's best for you. You got to do what's best for your team. Get your ass back in the lineup. Okay, get your ass back in the lineup. Team needs you. They're sending up freaking Mickey Gasper, who, again, drew a walk last night. He's a good story. Who would you rather have up, Mickey Gasper or Tristan Casas? Do I even have to ask? I'll leave you tonight with this, because if you listen to the station and you've listened throughout the course of the day today, you already know this, and I do find myself making these remarks at least once a year, sometimes more than that. But we here at the Sports Hub are celebrating our 15th anniversary today. It was 15 years ago, this very day, when Michael Felger and I went on the air for the first time as Felger and Mazz. And prior to that, the station actually played a couple of old Patriots Super Bowls, and then Mike and I went on the air, and that was the first sports talk show broadcast here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. We have had an extraordinary 15 years here at the station. I can't say enough about the people I work with, the people I've worked for, and that covers everybody in the building, from the sales staff to management to producers, editors, the whole 9 yards. We have had a fabulous group of people here, which is really one of the primary drivers to all the success. I've said that from the beginning. We had good people, and I still feel that way. We also have extraordinary listeners in sports market unlike any other in America. Zoe said this in one of the promos that have been produced for our anniversary, said that people here are crazy about sports and he'd never want to work anywhere else. And I think that is something that we all feel and we would all agree with. Maybe one of the few times that we'd ever actually all agree on anything. So on this particular program, I would like to thank the people who have stuck it out in these last 4 or 5 years while the Red Sox have been poor, below average at best, sometimes downright poor. And the ratings on this show overall still continue to be good, which I find to be positively remarkable given the state of the team over the last 4 or 5 years. And that's really a reflection on you. So thank you for that. Joe Murray has you for the balance of the night. Kevin Majori's got your headlines. We'll catch you tomorrow.
From the Town Fair Tire Studios, Boston, the greatest sports town in America.
They're on their feet at TD Garden.
Thank you, Boston, for making us your home for sports for the past 50